Today, we're bringing the outdoors in with some Biophilic-inspired DIYs. Hi, Uttori Zoku. This is Imari from Always Uttori, where we cover fashion, food, and lifestyle topics. Biophilic trends have been on the rise since 2020. Trapped indoors, many of us discovered a newfound appreciation for life and nature. From becoming plant parents to indulging in the cottagecore aesthetic, we began to explore our relationship with nature once we had time to slow down. Enter Biophilic design, a concept that integrates natural elements into our living spaces, fostering a deeper connection to the environment and enhancing our overall well-being. Rooted in the belief that humans have an inherent affinity for nature, Biophilic design aims to bring the outdoors inside, creating harmonious and rejuvenating interiors. While it may not be possible to completely redesign our homes to adhere to Biophilic design principles, we can still make small changes to bring more natural elements into our homes. Today, we're sharing 4 easy DIYs that will help you bring in some nature and offer much-needed zen in your daily spaces. With that, let's create some enchantment. Our first project is inspired by this cute frame filled with flowers that I saw in Temu. To start, you'll need a frame. You can use something from Dollar Tree, something you have around the house, or even thrift one like I did. I got this frame for $4.99 at Goodwill. I removed the back of the frame and removed the glass in the picture. We won't need the glass for this project, so set it aside. You will need the frame backboard, or if you don't want to use that, you can cut a piece of cardboard to fit in the frame. Next, find a nice piece of scrapbook paper or fabric that you want to use to cover the backboard and act as a background for your bouquet of flowers. I tried a few different options, but in the end I had to go with the scrapbook paper I found that had botanical encyclopedia entries, since it fit the theme so perfectly. Cut the paper to fit the backboard, then glue the paper to the backboard and set it aside to let it dry. Next, we're going to make the bag that the flowers will go into. You can pick whatever kind of fabric you want, but I went with a burlap fabric to mimic the inspiration picture. Actually, I'm upcycling the fabric from a sack of flour. So don't be afraid to think outside the box and see if you have any materials around that you can upcycle. This is also the perfect project for any leftover scraps of fabric you might have because it doesn't take a lot. The size of the bag can vary depending on your frame. For our frame, we cut the fabric to 5 inches across, including about a 1/4 inch seam allowance for gluing later, and 6 inches long, with about a 1/2 inch seam allowance to create a pouch at the bottom. To create the bag, fold 1/2 inch from the bottom of the fabric to create a pouch. Hold the fabric in place with your fingers. Fold the left side of the fabric over by about 1/4 inch and glue it down. You may need to place something heavy on top to keep the fabric in place while it dries, especially if you are using a heavier fabric like burlap. Repeat on the right side, glue, and let dry. Next, we're going to measure out the top lip of the bag. Cut a strip of fabric a little longer than your bag, about 5.5 inches across and 1/2 inch wide. Because I used an old burlap flour sack, I used the top part of the bag that was sewn together to form the top of the pouch. Measure 1/4 inch on each side of the fabric strip and glue each side down to prevent fraying. Align the top edge of the fabric with the top side of the bag and glue it to secure. I made a mistake here and accidentally glued the top to the side of the bag and couldn't remove the glue, so to fix the mistake I added some twine details to the side of the bag. Cut 2 lengths of twine that measured the length of your bag twice, so for me about 10 inches each. Lay the twine on the left side of the bag, a little away from the edge. Start with one end at the bottom of the bag and glue the string down until you reach the top. Loop the twine over with about 1/8 inch between both strings and glue it down, ending at the bottom of the bag. Repeat on the other side. After I attached the twine, I re-glued the top onto the front of the bag. Next, determine where you want the bag to sit on your background and measure to ensure it sits in the center. Glue the bottom and sides of the bag to the backboard. Place the backboard back into the picture frame and secure it so it won't fall out. Flip the frame over and begin placing your dried or faux flowers of choice inside the pouch. Arrange them to your liking and trim any stems if necessary so the flowers fit in the bag. You can even have some of the flowers overlap the edge of the frame for a more 3D effect. While I'm arranging flowers, I wanted to dig a little deeper into the biophilic design trend. The term biophilia was coined in 1973 by psychoanalyst Erich Fromm in his book, The Anatomy of Human Destructiveness. Fromm defined biophilia as a love of all that is alive, be it person, plant, idea, or social group. While the term was only recently coined, biophilic ideas and designs have been a part of the human ethos since our beginning. Recent notable frameworks for biophilia in the design space have been influenced by Yale professor Stephen Keller and University of Virginia professor Timothy Beatley. I'll talk more about biophilic design principles as we get into other projects. And here's the finished picture. This project would make a great gift in addition to bringing in some biophilic charm to your home. It's also a super customizable project that can easily be changed to suit your space, from the type of flowers used to the background. Our next project is a simple and quick Anthropologie dupe. I was inspired by a hurricane candle holder being sold at Anthropologie's Terrain brand that retailed for between $14 and $30. It might look complicated, but it only takes about 30 minutes to complete. Start by cleaning a glass candle holder so that it's free of any blemishes. I had this one around the house, but it would be pretty easy to find something similar at a thrift store or even at Dollar Tree. Next, we're going to use Mod Podge to begin attaching dried flowers to the vessel. I got these beautiful dried hydrangea from Amazon, and I will link to them in the description box. To attach the flowers, apply some Mod Podge to the spot where you want to place the flower, then gently press the flower onto that spot. Be careful, as the flowers can be delicate. If part of a flower breaks, you can reattach and rearrange it with glue. Arrange the flowers in any pattern you want. I went with an alternating diagonal pattern. I also chose to use glossy Mod Podge for a shiny finish, but you can use matte Mod Podge for a more subtle look. Once all the flowers are attached, carefully paint over them with Mod Podge. If any part of the flower breaks or detaches, gently press it back into place. As you paint over the flowers, be mindful of your brush strokes, as the glue will dry with the stroke texture. You can experiment with different brush stroke patterns. I used a wavy pattern. Don't worry if bubbles appear in the glue. They mimic the look of seeded bubble glass, similar to the Anthropologie original. Allow the vessel to dry completely, then place your favorite candle inside. I want to make a special note that pressed flowers can get bleached in the sun. My workspace is by a window, and some of the flowers lost their color after sitting in the sun for a few hours. The bleached color actually matches the Anthropologie one better, but just be aware of that when storing and using your candle holder. The next project is inspired by these animal wall hangings I saw on Pinterest. For this, I'm using a dragon mask I got from Goodwill last year. They sell them for Halloween at my local store, and I saw them out again on a recent trip, so you might be able to find the same mask at your Goodwill. 2024 is the year of the dragon, which, according to the Chinese zodiac, are the most powerful and favorable animals, symbolizing strength, luck, wisdom, and prosperity. In honor of 2024, this wall hanging is designed to bring in good vibes and a touch of nature. While we're featuring a dragon, you can use any kind of animal mask you prefer to suit your style. The first step is to prep the animal mask. All masks are different, so prepare your mask by removing any unnecessary parts. For my mask, I removed the elastic band used to keep it on your head. I also added cellophane and tape to fill in the empty eye sockets. I painted the dragon mask red using spray paint. You can choose any color you like or leave the mask as it is. Once the red paint dried, I added gold accents to the teeth and high points of the mask. Returning to our discussion on the biophilic design trend, biophilic design incorporates direct and indirect interaction with nature and considers the experiences of space and place to facilitate health and well-being. Built on the principle that nature is calming and healthy for humans, biophilic design boasts benefits for overall health, mental well-being, the economy, and even the environment. As issues of environmentalism and mental health continue to be pressing, biophilic design will become more prominent in the coming years. Next, I removed the glass and backboard from a picture frame that was big enough to fit the mask. I thrifted the one I used, but it was difficult to get the backboard detached, so I didn't film it. It's a good idea to check the back of any frames you thrift to see how easy or difficult it may be to open the frame up, especially if you are thrifting it for craft purposes. If you prefer not to use the frame's backboard, you can cut a piece of cardboard to fit the frame. I chose to use the backboard that came with the frame. Working in sections, cover part of the board with glue and attach dried moss until the board is completely covered. If you have different types of moss, you can create patterns and designs with various colors and textures. After covering the board, fill in any sparse areas. Keep in mind that the moss might shed a little bit as you handle it, even with glue. After the moss was attached, I used hot glue to attach the mask to the moss-covered board. You may need to apply glue in several places to ensure the mask is securely attached. To finish up the piece, I added additional flowers and foliage to different areas of the mask and in around the moss. I used faux apple blossoms I got from Dollar Tree to the dragon and some green foliage behind the dragon head. Get creative and have fun with this step. Once you're finished, place the backboard with the mask and decorations back into the frame and secure it. This is a project you can really get creative with. You could try other items besides a mask as well. This next project is a living terrarium. I was inspired by several terrariums I saw on Pinterest, as well as one being sold at Anthropologie's Terrain brand. This project is highly customizable and brings the outdoors inside in a contained, low-effort way. To start, make sure the container you're going to use is clean. I thrifted this awesome lantern for $7.99, but it had a lot of hot glue and other things I had to clean up before I could get to creating the terrarium. Part of the fun of this project is the wide variety of containers you can use. Even in the inspiration pictures, each one had a different feeling based on the container. After cleaning up the container, I painted my terrarium a light purple color. Next, fill the terrarium with frog moss or another living moss option. I'll link the one I used in the description box. Follow the specific instructions for the moss you are using to activate the moss. My moss needed to be soaked in water for about 30 minutes to activate. Arrange the moss at the bottom of the terrarium to your liking. If the moss doesn't completely fill the terrarium, fill in the blank spots with large rocks and other natural items you have around. Once you have the base covered, add air plants, succulents, or other plants, gems, wood pieces, and other decor items to bring the terrarium to life. I used air plants, some rocks I had around, and some amethyst crystals, as well as some wood craft pieces. You can also attach fairy lights, depending on how your terrarium is set up. This adds some whimsy and fun to the project. Attach the lights with strong tape. And you're finished. All you need to do is maintain your terrarium by watering the plants you used. If using air plants, soak them in water for 30 minutes once a week. You can also spritz the moss with water once a week as well. Like I mentioned earlier, biophilic design principles are rooted in both direct and indirect interactions with nature. Our biophilic-inspired DIYs incorporate both, whether it's the direct connection with plants and nature in the terrarium and floral picture frame, or the indirect evocation of nature through imagery and natural materials in the floral candle holder and dragon moss picture. Let me know in the comments which project was your favorite. While biophilic design might seem like the latest trend, it's much more than that. Simply being mindful of nature's power to heal and relax us can have a profound impact on our well-being. If you enjoyed these DIYs, please like the video and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and remember, enchantment awaits. Life is just about finding it.